for the sake of somebody else. Isn't that neat? Now, let me tell you a little story about Barbara. She used to wear earrings to church. But somebody was upset that a pastor's wife would wear earrings, that an Adventist pastor's wife would wear earrings. Now, Barbara has superior knowledge. And she knows that in Bible times, when the Jewish women got ready to be married, that what they did is they got all dressed up. They got decked out in jewels. And this is why, in fact, when John is talking about Revelation and he sees the holy city coming down out of heaven, and he says it's like a bride adorned for her husband. So she's getting all dressed up. She's getting all decked out in jewelry for her husband. So Barbara has that superior knowledge. But she said, you know, if it's going to make somebody stumble, if it makes somebody fall, if it makes somebody upset, then I can deny my personal freedoms. And I don't have to wear jewelry. I think that's a wonderful attitude. Now, let me tell you about me. Oh, I'm not going to tell you about me. But this is what the Apostle Paul is talking about. He's saying, be gracious. Yeah, you have a right to do certain things, but if it upsets somebody, you don't have to do them. That's his point. That's the DNA of that church. Not everything was black and white at Corinth, and not everything is black and white at Orange Coast Church. There's a lot of gray in a lot of things. And so what he's saying is, in these gray areas, be cautious. Make sure that love is preeminent. In unity, have essentials. So you have things like the Trinity, the Holy Scriptures, the atonement for your sins by Jesus Christ the Lord. You have those things that are essential. Then you have liberty. You have unity in the essential things, liberty in non-essential things. Should you eat steak or veggie-burger? Not essential. There are other things. We'll talk about them in a minute. But in all things, have charity. That's the DNA that the Apostle Paul is giving to us as the ideal. And that's what we have, I believe, in this church for the most part. What are the gray areas? Oh, man. Where do we start? We could say, well, what about Ellen White, one of the founders of the church? There are members of this church who believe that Ellen White was a prophet of God, just like Moses, just like Daniel, just like John, and everything that she wrote is to be looked at in the same way. There are other members of this church who look at one of the founders, Ellen White, and they'll say, poor lady, she was mixed up. She was hit with a stone in her head, and she was never the same after that. And so there's an issue there that's a little gray. Some believe one way, some believe another way. What about Sabbath observance? Some members of Orange Coast Church say, well, I'm going to make my food ahead of time. I make, before Friday night at sunset, I make my food ahead of time. I heat it up. I make it, put it in the refrigerator, and then on Saturday for lunch, I bring it out. I don't even have to do anything to it. It's all made. And others say, well, I really look forward to Saturday because after church I can go out to eat it in a restaurant. And then, of course, there are those early Seventh-day Adventist Christians, those very early Christians, those very early Adventist Christians who said the Sabbath starts at 6 p.m. every Friday night, and it's over every Saturday night at 6 p.m. And then later, it developed that, well, we should go from sunset to sunset, not 6 p.m. to 6 p.m. So there is a gray area there about Sabbath observance. Then there's the issue of the storehouse. You know, Malachi says, bring all the tithes into the storehouse. Is the storehouse the conference? Is the storehouse the local church? Is the storehouse Yellowstone? What is the storehouse? And people in this congregation have all kinds of different beliefs about that. Abortion. Most Christians don't believe in abortion. Some Christians go to the point where they say, if the mother's life is at stake, it doesn't matter. It's a very Catholic position. It's abortion under no circumstances. Other Christians, other members of this church say, well, abortion, of course, is not a good birth control method, but if the mother's life is at stake, then it's more important for the mother to live, and then we can go ahead and have an abortion. So you have people all over the place on that. We've already talked about jewelry. Some believe one way, some believe another way. Alcohol. You know, we have some members who never take a drink, and then we have other members who occasionally will have a glass of wine with a meal. And still other members who are alcoholics, and they struggle with this on a daily basis. We have some who think it's awful that in the fellowship hall, in the hub, we offer caffeine. And other members think that, you know, we are really blessed. Because I have caffeine every morning to wake up, and I need that little jolt. That's what some members think. Now, I happen to be exempt of this, just for the record, because I don't even like coffee. So it doesn't apply to me, but some people like it. Some people like the high-octane stuff, and some don't. Some think it's a good thing that we offer it. Some think it's a bad thing. We don't agree with this. And then, homosexuals. Some people say, you know, people are born that way. Other people say, well, it's a choice, and they're sinners, they're going to hell. We have people who have all kinds of beliefs all over the place on that. And then some people say, well, you know, the world was created 6,000 years ago in 6 literal 24-hour days. And other people say, no, it wasn't. It's longer periods of time. And there is such a thing as microevolution. But it was a long time ago. The earth is more than 6,000 years old. So we have people, again, believing all different things. And what we're saying is, what is our DNA as Orange Coast Church? We have unity in essentials. We have liberty in non-essentials. And we have charity or love in everything. And that's good news, isn't it? And then, gray areas are gray areas. Because not all of you will agree with the gray areas that I picked. Some of you will say, these aren't gray areas at all. This one is an essential. Folks, we just don't agree. Now, I've been married to Barbara for over 39 years. And you know, we don't agree on everything. I'm still working on her. I'm hoping she'll come around. But we don't agree on everything. In fact, there's a lot that we don't agree on. But you know what? I love her. And on Valentine's Day, I ordered flowers from the florist. I finally got it right in her own words.